Guys, what is up? Welcome back to Minutes of Audio. Today we're going to be talking about Black Country New Road's new album, Ants From Up There. If you like what we have to say, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So, Carl, what were your first thoughts about this album?
Man, I feel like every time I listen to this album, it just gets better and better. I don't know, man. I'm insanely impressed. Obviously, we knew their first record was a very impressive debut. They came in with a lot of energy, a really unique sound, and I mean, I knew that they could do something better than it. But I didn't expect this. I think this is not just a not a complete transformation of their sound, but like a logical transformation of their sound. But it takes all of the great aspects of the original work and expands them to I don't know, such great heights. I don't know. I was left speechless by it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic continuation of their sound.
Yeah.
And but some songs on this album just don't even sound like it's the same group that made the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Like Chaos Space Marine. That's a very far advancement from what they were making in the past.
It reminds me a
It's a
lot.
very good one.
It reminds me a lot almost of not
Don't say
I
it.
guess like in technicality, but it reminds me a lot of Rainy Day Women by Bob Dylan, like the way it opens up the record. Just kind
I
of like,
thought you were gonna say it reminds you of Arcade Fire, like everyone else.
really?
Just like you. Everyone
No.
says that online.
I
Next Arcade Fire.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't really get that, but
No, dude, it's everywhere.
really,
Yeah.
I mean, either way, I mean, it's a fantastic opener track.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
the like really jumpy piano melody and the really bouncy violins. I think it's a fantastic way to introduce their new sound and the new style that they're really going for. Uh, but dude, I feel like for a lot of this review, we're just gonna be kind of singing its praise because this album is genuinely one of the most exciting things that I think we've listened to in years, at least new albums.
Yeah, definitely in a long time. My favorite part about Chaos Space Marine is probably the outro. I love the
Hmm.
way it sounds, and I love how he's introducing the concepts from the rest of the album in the outro by saying lines and recurring themes that are repeated later on.
Yeah, it it feels like not just that song in particular, but the entire album feels like a much more cohesive project than their previous record. It feels like they really had a vision with this one, I guess. Uh,
Yeah, they knew what they wanted on this one
yeah,
and what kind of sound they wanted to go along with it.
both with like the themes and tonally. It was a lot more of a mature record compared to their previous work. Uh,
Especially lyricism.
yeah, lyricism. We were talking about this earlier, but there's a lot to the lyrics, and it's really abstract, but they fit with the mood of the album so well.
Yeah, and they do a great job at continually leading back to the same themes. Like one of the
Hmm.
major themes in the album is coexistence and how some people need someone else to coexist with and how it leads them into bad places.
Yeah,
That's almost all of these songs make a reference to that in some way.
yeah, and it's one of his like core problems. But, the track following right after Space Marine, Concord, one of the singles that came out before the album. So I listened to it before, but I think I think this song really showcases just how um, amazing their sense of progression and movement is with their instrumentals
And lyricism.
and lyricism. Um, but the uh, the way the song kind of like morphs from the beginning, where it's a lot more calm and peaceful, and I guess more melodic, and how it comes crashing in at the end with Isaac screeching and the instrumental swelling in. I think it's one of the most beautiful and maybe impactful moments on the record. And in the context of the album as a whole, it really just, I don't know, I think it's a tone setter for the rest of the album. Because Chaos Space Marine is very much so an anomaly, I guess. Like, most of the other songs don't really sound like this, but this is really when you dive into the meat and potatoes of what the record's going to give you.
Yeah, on this song it has probably Isaac's best lyrics in the sense of how well he paints a picture.
Yeah.
And how just beautiful what he's saying is.
Especially on the chorus.
He's really talented, especially on the chorus.
In his delivery because the lyrics alone, if he didn't have the type of delivery that he did, the lyrics I feel would kind of be overshadowed by whatever, but the way he delivers them just makes them that much more, it makes them almost come to life, I feel.
And then that makes me think of another thing about this album. This, on their last LP,
Mm-hmm.
he showed off his amazing voice, but he didn't really showcase it the way he does on this album.
Yeah.
On this album, he can sing any style he wants, and he does it very well.
It's almost deceiving, too, because his shaky voice makes you think that he wouldn't be able to sort of be that versatile, but he is. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but it's extremely impressive. One last thing about Concord before we move on to another song. I thought the crying horn in the background near the end, with when the instrumental sort of swells in. Yeah, I don't know, that kind of I feel like there's something special about that. Yeah, it's like a small thing to point out, but just the way it mixes in and it kind of stands out amongst all the rest of the instrumental. I thought it was one of the high points of the record.
Yes, but the next track on the album was a song called Bread Song, which was another single that they released.
Mm-hmm.
This... What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, it's one of the more calmer songs on the track list.
It is one of the more calmer songs for sure. But it's also another song that really shows how mature his lyrics have gotten.
Yeah.
Like, this song is just lyrically a masterpiece, or close to it at least.
Mm-hmm. It's still something that we're deciphering,
which is why I think it is.
Yeah.
Because if you can write good lyrics that make sense, but if you write good lyrics that you have to decipher that make sense, then they're perfect in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. It gives them a greater sense of depth, I feel.
Yeah. And it gives you something more to think about while listening to the album.
Yeah, which is what this album does perfectly. And even though the instrumental isn't the best, I would say, on the record, it's not the most theatrical, it still has I feel like a calming presence, and especially when it becomes more upbeat in the second half. I don't know, I still really enjoy it.
I like how it in the first half at least it builds up to the ending of the chorus, and then it just kind of fades into the second verse.
Yeah.
They do climaxes very well on this album by making you wait for it.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, just about the album as a whole, a lot of times I feel like some bands who would sort of do this more progressive or experimental rock, who have long songs and then, sort of explosions at the end, or, some sort of like climax at the end that you kind of wait for. A lot of times that 4 or 5 or 6 minutes leading up to it can kind of get stale or boring or repetitive to where you're really just waiting for the end. This entire record, I never felt like that. All of the build-up still, it felt like it was building up to something, but it still felt impactful while you were waiting for the climax.
It felt almost like classical songs in the way they built up.
Yeah, actually, that's a good comparison.
It wasn't just the verse, chorus. It was always something that was long and sustainable, and that was worth the build-up. And the build-up always... There is never a point on the album where I was not satisfied with how something went.
Yeah, same. Even yeah, I mean, I can't think of one moment either.
It always almost exceeded my expectations. Like if I thought something was gonna go one way and it didn't go that way, I was happy because what they did was any better than anything I could have thought of.
Which is it's shocking you get an album that consistently does that.
Yeah, because most of the time it's like a few songs do it on a really good album. Most of the songs do it, but on this one it was every song.
Yeah.
Even Mark's theme too, but
And even like, because I think we both agree that this song is maybe the least good on the record. I don't want to say worst because I don't think there's a worst song, but
Good Will Hunting.
yeah, Good Will Hunting. Even that song, it's really lyrically. I know it's still a bit of a downer, but it has kind of more of it takes the style that's been going through the album, but it still feels more upbeat or more happy, I guess, at least instrumentally, and not as much of a downer as the rest of them. And if it still serves its purpose, and it's still really really catchy. I don't know. I still love this song, even though I think it's the worst.
Yeah. I also think that it's the worst one on the album, but that means it's like a 9 instead of a 10.
Yeah.
Which is still better than most songs.
It's like if you get like the smartest people in the world in a room, there's always gonna be like one who isn't like who's the least smart of the bunch, but I mean he's still one of the smartest people in the world.
Yeah. On this one, it really showed how well Isaac's hook game, or how good Isaac's hook game has got, because the chorus on it is one of the catchiest fucking things ever.
Yeah, this one and where he it's where he inserts the
place
lyric.
where he inserts.
Yeah, those two hooks are fantastic, and like all the other hooks too, but those two especially. Like it really showcased. I don't know. It showcased, at the very least, improvement.
And not to sound redundant, but again, I'm just gonna say it for all the songs so that I could stop saying it. All of these songs show how mature his lyrics have gotten, and every song impresses me.
Yeah.
Lyrically, the more I listen to it, which, again, not to say his lyrics on the last one were bad.
No, they were good.
Were just on a new level.
That's the thing, right? We're saying how much he improved, how much they improved. You would make it seem like their first album was a 70 or a 60 or even like a 50. Their first album, at least for me, I have it at a 9. I think it's a 9 out of 10, and it was my top 5 records of last year. They had a great fucking album. This is just so much better somehow that I don't know. Like I think that's one of the coolest things about this is just I don't yeah.
I'm happy this album exists. It's definitely one of the best albums in a long time. It is something I'm gonna probably listen to up until the minute I die.
I mean, it's we're only in February, and I think this is a safe contender for album of the year. It's that good.
It's a contender for album of the decade already.
Yeah,
and we're 2 years in.
It
is better than anything that came out since 2019.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if this got anywhere lower than top 5 for the decade. I'd be very surprised.
If it gets anywhere, yeah. If that were to happen, it would have to be some like next level shit came out.
Mm-hmm.
But the next song after Good Will Hunting is a song called Haldern, which I don't know if a lot of people know this, but this song was pretty much all improv. They had a basic idea for what the song was going to be, but while performing it live at the Haldern Pop Festival in 2020, which was live streamed, it changed and turned into a completely new song, and they even changed the name. It was originally called For the Evening, and now it's called a Haldern. Is that how you say it? Haldern?
Haldern, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But the fact that this was improvised, I don't know, man. I think this is one of the coolest progressions and sort of song developments they have on the entire record. So the fact
There's
that this is
another.
all improvised, it's crazy.
It's another song that is like the Space Cadet song. Not that it sounds like it, but it just
Hmm.
sounds so unique and one of a kind on this
Yeah.
album. Like nothing else sounds like those two.
In just the way how every time when the vocals sort of fade out and the drums stop, and all you have is like piano. I think it's piano, violin, and like maybe bass or something, or it was piano, violin, maybe like a horn or something. Whenever it had like those three instruments just going at it in sort of you know what I'm talking about, right? Like in between the
Yeah,
vocal and the drum. The way it changes and sort of develops each and every time that happens, it's never the same. I mean, I don't know. I think it's so cool the way it does that. I thought that just wowed me, the way it kept morphing and morphing and morphing, and how it kept progressing until the very end. Um, for only being, I think, a 5 minute long track, they fit so much into it.
yeah. No, it's one of it never stays the same. Nothing ever really repeats in it.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Um, so Mark's theme is the seventh song on the album. And so Mark's theme is about Lewis Evans' uncle who passed away to COVID in 2019. During the day he found out that his uncle died was the day that his saxophone came out of the shop, which it was in for a while. And they decided to sit down together and write this song. Mark was significant to the band because he was a family member of one of the members, and he also would show up to most of their concerts, if not all of their concerts, and go wild in the front row moshing with people. So he was somebody that meant a lot to the band, and they wanted to pay a tribute to him in a song. And I think this song encapsulates the feeling of losing someone close in a perfect way.
yeah, it's like I it felt like a really sort of appropriate point to put an instrumental section like that. Of course, there isn't much to say about it because it's just sort of an instrumental section, but um, I don't know. I really enjoyed it despite it only being 2 minutes and just being instrumental.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely a good song.
and the way it preludes the next three, including in the one right after, the place where he inserted the blade. Uh,
Which,
w- w-
again, on this, usually on albums, like after you get most of the way through it, it starts winding down.
mhm.
This one just picked up to like
Oh yeah,
110 after Mark's theme. Like
the
three of the best songs are placed on the end.
the last three are just, I mean, mind blowing tracks back to back to back. Um, I yeah, it's in starting with the place where he inserted the blade. Again, like we said, one of the best choruses they've ever made. Um, and the lyricism, including the themes of kind of anxiety regarding one's codependence and not having someone there, and like really relying on someone so heavily to where you can't even do kind of like basic functions. At least with the chorus, at least if we interpret it right, um, it's a special track. It's a very special track.
Yeah, for sure. And not only is the chorus on this song fantastic, but the pre-chorus is almost just as good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the pre-chorus is in my head just as much as the chorus, which is usually never the case in a song.
Yeah.
Usually the pre-chorus sucks. But even the bridges, like, this entire song is, like, contender for song of the year, for sure.
And it's crazy too because among all of this, the instrumental for it is one of the more, I guess, maybe not simplistic, but yeah, it's not, there's not as much going on here as there are with other songs, but yeah, it still feels, and I'm not gonna lie, I think it's because of Isaac Wood's vocal performance. It still feels so heavy and so full that it feels like there's almost 20 different instruments going on just because of how hard Okay, not carries it, but how good of a performance he does on this track and the entire album, but especially this track.
Yeah, because especially in the pre-chorus, that's especially transparent. Because there's what drums, guitar,
Hmm.
and the bass playing at points. There's like three elements, including his voice, and his voice is the thing that makes it so full
Yeah,
and sound complete.
he has a knack. His voice is perfect for this band. But it was just sad
And
that
his
he's.
lyrics too.
Oh yeah, his lyricism is I mean, he has a very unique and identifiable style that really makes a lot of these songs. Um, but the next track, and this one, I think this one's my favorite song, and it's one of the singles. Snow Globes. I think this is, I think maybe a perfect closing track, which is amazing because the track after this is also a perfect closing track. Um, but it feels like I don't. It feels so atmospheric and sad, and I don't know. Like it's such an emotional track right from the jump.
One of the parts about Snow Globes that I really enjoy is how he makes a killer reference in the lyrics when he says he doesn't look anything like Jesus at all, which is
Mhm.
a reference to the song When We Were Young by the Killers, which is a fantastic song.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, he has a lot of pop culture references and callbacks to to other songs in his albums, which I really do appreciate.
Yeah, it worked. It doesn't sound forced or cringy at all.
No, yeah, it really does fit, and it adds to the song more than anything, almost all the
Mhm.
time.
Um, but another thing I thought was very unique about this track in particular was when the drummer kind of just goes batshit near the end. Um, and yeah, the song still kind of keeps this sullen, saddened, downer type beat with it, but you still have this crazy drum going on, mixed with it. It adds such a perfect mix of eccentricity and energy and chaos. I don't know. I just love that mix, especially since the song started off really just fully without this sort of energy. And well, I was gonna and Isaac mixed with it just kind of creates a perfect balance.
Yeah, the drums in this song are, I think, my favorite drums on the entire album. Just for the
Hmm.
exact reason why Carl said them, especially when they start coming in. Because when
Yeah,
I first heard it, I was just more confused at first, and then I started going with it.
because they started with the like the semi-frantic cymbals too. So yeah, it really kind of.
And the scattered tom patterns.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought the drums on this were brilliant.
So the last song on the album is also the longest track on the album. It is the song Basketball Shoes. This song is by no means new. It has been around since pretty much the beginning of the band, and a lot of people say it was like a staple of their live shows. And they did change it a few times since they first played it. This is
Hmm.
the third version of it. Originally, the entire song was about Charlie XCX, but now only the last verses.
Which feels more appropriate.
Yeah, because the new lyrics he has on it are very. Again, every song he outdoes himself on lyrics. And this is no exception to the rule.
Uh, I I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like well, it's another example of just how good this song progresses from beginning to end and transforms along the way, right?
Yeah.
Um,
It's
you know,
it's a 12-minute song, but it doesn't feel like a 12-minute song.
it feels
like
almost
a
like,
6-minute song.
and it feels almost like four different songs packed into one, like just the way just the way it kind of moves.
Yeah, but it also moves very naturally.
Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, well, that's the thing with all their progressions. They all feel very natural, which is what makes them so brilliant.
And Carl mentioned earlier how both songs, Snow Globes and this one, sounded like perfect closing songs. But in my opinion, this one is the perfect closing song because
Hmm.
it is probably the highest high at the end that this
Yeah,
album has, with the ensemble coming in to sing with him, all the instruments going nuts, and him kind of yelling. It just feels like a perfect conclusion to the album, and as we know, since he left the band, it feels like the perfect conclusion to the band as we know it at this point. Of course, they're going to continue on without him,
hmm,
but this was the perfect song for him to leave off on.
I think that's what makes it so much heavier too, knowing that this is basically his last hurrah and having such an epic conclusion with this song, especially since this song was a staple of the band. It feels like such a perfect, almost like
Send
fairy
off.
tale end. Yeah, just such a great send off. I mean, it's like I said, even though Snow Globes is my favorite track, and I think it's such a perfect closer track, this song is about as perfect, or maybe even like I said, more perfect of a closer track, which is yeah, especially though that last like 2 4 minutes. Holy shit!
The last minute and a half are perfect. The
Yeah,
entire song is perfect, but the entire minute and a half and more so.
that's when you get like the conclusivity of it.
Yeah. And then after the album's over, you just feel a sense of disappointment and sorrowness because over.
Yeah, it's but it's the good type. It's the good type of almost like emptiness.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's the
it,
type of emptiness that makes you buy the deluxe version of the vinyl before you listen.
hell yeah, March 21st.
Let's go.
Um, but is there anything you want to run through, or I mean, we
Um,
basically covered it all, right?
yeah, the only other thing I think we could mention is of course, it is sad that he is leaving the band
Hmm.
and this is their last album together. But it is better than the alternative, which is him continue to live in a way that's not pleasing to him and
Yeah,
potentially harming himself down the line. So, we got the outcome we got isn't the best musically, but it's probably the best if you're just a human being and understand people.
yeah, and you know, he wouldn't have left, especially like with there's yeah how much fame they're getting. He wouldn't have left if there wasn't a very good reason for him to leave.
Yeah,
Um, so we hope that we wish the best for him. And hey, what a perfect album to leave on. Okay, if you're gonna go out, with fireworks, and this is one of the best albums to call it quits on. So, you can't complain.
but also with that being said, he is still very close to the band. They were celebrating the release of the album just 2 days ago, um,
Hmm.
and I don't think it's too crazy that there's a future that at some point he rejoins the band.
Yeah, and if
And
he does, hell yeah.
even if he doesn't, the band is still gonna continue to go on and make some crazy, interesting music.
Oh
Even if
yeah.
they lose such a key to their music, I still don't think that the other six musicians are gonna not be able to continue to do something amazing.
Yeah, I'm feeling it's full of optimism after this album. Full of optimism and good vibes.
In bittersweetness.
Yeah, and bittersweet. So slightly less good vibes, but either way,
Medium, mid
um,
vibes.
mid
Not
vibes.
for the album, but
Yeah, for our psyche.
what
Um,
would you
so
say your top 3 songs are?
yeah, that was gonna be my question, or my
I stole
I
it.
was gonna ask. So I'd say Snow Globes is my number one. The place where he inserted the blade is number two, and I'd go Haldern for number three. It was very close between that and Basketball Shoes and Concord for that matter.
My top three would be snow globes and basketball shoes, obviously. The third one's so hard, though, because all the other ones are so good. I'm gonna have to say Chaos Space Marine.
That's a respectable pick.
It's probably gonna change within
Yeah.
a few more listens of the album, but I did not listen to any singles from this album besides Chaos Space Marine 2 days before it came out. So it's still a very new song to me, even though it's been out since like November, I think.
Yeah.
So,
It's one of those things where like 7 of these songs could be in the top 3 best, because there's so many fantastic tracks and there's so much to love about all of them. So I mean, like, yeah, these are probably going to change as we listen to the album more and more. And I assume that neither of us have least favorite tracks.
I mean, if I had to choose a least favorite track, it would obviously be Intro.
That is true. That is true.
Because Mark's theme is too like meaningful for me to not like it.
Yeah. But I mean, we don't need a least favorite track. 'Cause, I mean, it'd kind of be weird if like the 23-second intro would be like, oh yeah, that one's the worst. Yeah. So, what's your score? Oh, I said it first.
So, this is a very complicated thing. I'll give my score for it first. I give it a 9.75, but it is very likely that in 2 to 3 months' time it is 100 or a 10 out of 10. I don't want to give it a 10 out of 10 just because it did just come out, but
yeah,
I feel like a 97 or a 90, a 9.9, whatever the fuck it is, as a score.
Yeah, I got it exactly the same, and I had the exact same reasoning as you. I could see this album being, in 2-3 months, something I would consider one of my favorite albums ever, one of the best albums ever. A 10 out of 10. Given time, but when it's only been like 3 days. You have to give it time to sit with it before I think you really sort of throw that much praise on it. And here's a promise: if we end up giving it a 10 out of 10, maybe we'll make a quick update video saying it.
A Redux review.
Yeah, just because this is something that we reasonably could give a 10 out of 10 given down the line. But yeah, both of us have it at a 9.75 right now.
And maybe in the Redux review we might even review the live from Queen Elizabeth Hall.
True, the vinyl version.
The vinyl version. Because in most of their songs they do improv, so there will be differences.
Yeah, so that hey, look out for that maybe.
And we might even review their first album. You never know.
Yeah, it's always, we're always keeping you on your toes.
And we might even review the covers EP they released. You never know.
Just their entire discography, Watch out for it.
We might hack into their Dropbox account and review demos.
Mm-hmm.
That is a threat.
Gonna leak them all.
It's not really a threat.
Alright, so I think that's it. We went a lot longer than normal, but it's a great album, so
deserves it.
Exactly.
We probably could have went even longer if we had 2 weeks with the album.
Oh yeah, definitely we could have, but so yeah, that's the review. Remember, if you guys liked it, like the video, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Our next video is gonna probably just be like a news video covering some of the stuff that came out, especially the Kanye stuff. Jesus, a lot of stuff to talk
Kim's
about with that.
doing him dirty.
Yeah, we'll talk all about that.
I have some opinions on that.
So hey, if you want to hear that, check in on probably Friday.
One thing he's forgetting is that there's gonna be potentially 3 videos this week.
True. We are still deciding on what album we might do. One of them is Pine Groove, and the other one is Animal Collective.
Yeah.
So hey, maybe look out for that too. Either way, we'll see you then. Stay tuned, and bye.
Good night and fuck you.